Hello guys, welcome back to another chapter. Um, if my voice is like raspy at all, it's because I was just yelling. My best Bakugo impression to a bunch of kids in shrimp games because my avatar is Bakugo. But yeah, um, if you do hear yelling in the background, it's just my family playing games. Well, like, not that I chose to record this over that, but just like I didn't like the game in general, and I wouldn't have played it anyways. I'm not that bad of a family member, I promise. I'm not devoted that deeply to this. That's if there's background noise. I'm sorry, I had to record it 3 times and move locations because of them. Let's get right into it. Mastermind Rise of Anarchy. Written by Clouds. My head in the clouds, not coming down. Read by Reem MHA. Chapter 16. Comfort. Summary. Tokoyami meets Monoma's friends. Fumikage looked at the warehouse skeptically. Are you sure we're in the right place? I know it doesn't look like much, Monoma assured, but I promise, this is where we're supposed to be. Trust me. Fumikage nodded hesitantly, and he saw Eri clutch a little tighter to Monoma's hand as he led them into the darkness. In the time it took for his eyes to adjust, he could felt Dark Shadow panicking, which confused him, until he realized that Magni from the League of Villains was standing in front of a small clump of gathered teens. He immediately turned on his heel and attempted to head back the door, only to find that Monoma was blocking his path. What in the name of darkness? Monoma, what is the meaning of this? Trust me, Monoma put a hand on his shoulders. Tokoyami resists the urge to brush it away. Believe me, I know exactly how it looks, but think about it. Think about what? Fumikage hissed. His entire body was tensed, and he shot a suspicious glance towards Magni, who didn't even glance their way, despite the fact that she must have seen them. How do you know that this isn't a trap and she's not about to attack us at any moment? Do you really think I'd bring Eri someplace if I didn't know for certain it was safe? Monoma said harshly. Give me some credit, Tokoyami. I'm not an idiot. Well, this is a neutral space. Everyone here is just trying to figure out what is real and what is right. But try to do that, we have to understand both sides. We already understand what the heroes teach, but who would be better to ask the villain about the villain side of the story than a villain? Fumikage hesitated. He had to admit that Monoma had a point, despite his entire being wanting to run or attack. But the hero side had fed them the propaganda based off of black and white, and thinking it was obvious that that wasn't all there was to it. Things were uglier, more complicated than that, which was something that the villain side would be much more familiar with than he was. Fine, he spat out, but if anything goes south, it's on you. He grabbed Eri's hand, and Dark Shadow wrapped around her protectively as they stormed over to the group and stood in the back. Monoma followed behind them with a satisfied smile. The meeting, if he could even call it that, was already underway, and Fumikage was honestly surprised they hadn't interrupted anything with their whispered argument at the door. The group had about 24 people and was larger than he would have expected, considering this whole gathering was led by a villain. But maybe most of them had been led here on false pretense as well. Dark Shadow was tense, and it was taking all of Fumikage's self-control to convince his quirk not to attack everyone there in a fit of protective rage. So for the first few minutes, whatever Magni was saying in one ear onto the other. The longer they stayed without being attacked, however, the more he was able to hesitantly relax and was actually start to paying attention. However, whatever villainous rhetoric he was expecting her to spew, however, wasn't what he got. What do you want out of your life? Magni was saying. Once you know that, it's pretty simple. You go after it. If you want to accomplish something, you learn how to do it. If you want meaningful relationships, you seek out the people who actually accept you. I personally can't think of a better society than the one we have where everyone is actively going after what makes them happy. Fumikage blinked. That made surprisingly amount of sense, actually. He was sure there was some sort of catch, obviously, 'cause these are villains. Their hearts were blackened by greed to the point where they would hurt anyone if given half a chance. If not all what Magni was saying was most likely propaganda designed to recruit more members for the League of Villains, because it was all just a rhetoric and not the League's actual ideas. There was no need for Fumikage to feel bad about cherry-picking the best parts of her speech to learn from, and he obviously wasn't the only one listening carefully. He wasn't surprised that most of the group were teenagers, either his own age or a few years older. What was surprising was that there were also adults and even a few middle schoolers and younger in the crowd, though Eri was obviously the youngest one there. One middle schooler kept giving the group weird looks, but Fumikage paid him much to heed. He was used to getting weird looks by this point. Magni finished her speech and then left them to take their own decisions, which the weird middle schooler took an invitation to talk to them. Fumikage put his hand on Eri's shoulder to steady himself, and Dark Shadow tightened protectively around the both as the boy got closer. As much as he knew the Dark Shadow would have no trouble making this kid a fight, he couldn't help registering him as a threat, if only because where they were. Sure, he might look like a harmless middle schooler, but then again, so had Midoriya when he was just starting out. The boy looked at his nose with a haunting look on his face that could give Monama's default expression a run for its money. I didn't know a UA brat would be coming out tonight. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Calm down, Kohi, Monoma warned. We're all after the same things here, aren't we? We all just want to understand. What's there to understand? Kohi scoffed. Those prideful heroes screwed everyone over, and now we have to deal with the consequences. Seemed pretty simple to me. Fumikage tensed as Magni came up and put a hand on the boy's shoulder. Now, don't be unfair. It was mostly the Commission and the heroes like Endeavor did the most damage. A lot of the heroes, like Hawks, were victimized, just as the rest of us were. Tsukuyomi is Hawk's chick, so he should know that he is better than most. He turned to face Tokoyami. It's a pleasure to meet you, kid. I'm Magni. That chicken nugget speaks pretty highly of you, you know. I understand how you must think that's a compliment, Fumikage responded coldly, but I would much rather not be associated with an agent of darkness. Why not? Kohi asked. At least he was brave enough to turn his back to the cozy commission position, which is more than I can say about most hero scum. Magni sighed. You'll have to forgive Mustard here. He's apparently behind bars and did not weaken his strength options. Mustard? Fumikage froze as the memories flooded him from that night. He could feel Dark Shadow itching to attack. The old fear leaked through their bond, and Fumikage almost let him. He didn't know why seeing Mustard was worse than seeing Magni, but the rest of the League had just gone out to do other things. However, terrible those might be, Mustard had only appeared on the worst of nights of Fumikage's life. You're the one of the villains that captured the summer camp attack. Just got off my patrol, Master said proudly. Those stupid hero brats didn't even know what hit him. You're forgetting that Fumi was the one of those hero brats you attacked. Dark Shadow snarled. You almost turned us into a murderer. Stop, both of you. Monoma stepped between them. Kuyami, Dark Shadow, we're not here to fight. Mustard, that's an uncalled for. Remember who you are speaking to. Apologize. Mustard had to stare down for a few tense seconds before Mustard dropped his gaze to the floor. Sorry, he spat. I guess I forgot my place. The tension didn't go away even when Aries' quiet voice cut through the silence. You heard Toko and Shadow? Tokoyami felt her rip herself away from him and reached out to her, but froze when he realized that her horn was glowing brightly. You almost made them hurt people, Eri accused softly. Toko doesn't hurt people. Master took a step back. What did you say the baby's quirk was again? Something more dangerous than your pathetic gas, Monma snapped. He knelt down so he was on eye level with Eri, but didn't reach out to her. Hey, Eri, it's okay. We're not gonna hurt you, okay? Just take a deep breath. Eri frowned. But Toko and Dark Shadow! What if he... It'll be alright, Dark Shadow interrupted, flexing his wings comically. Fumi and I are big and strong. We can take care of ourselves. What do you think? Tokoyami said softly. Can you allow us to embrace the darkness so that you don't have to? Eri hesitated for a long moment and then nodded. Gradually the light faded from her horn, and her shoulders shrugged in exhaustion. Dark Shadow immediately wrapped around her again, humming tunelessly to help calm her down. Fumikage could feel how the worried Dark Shadow was with himself. He wanted to protect Eri, but wasn't the best way to do that comforting her and making sure she didn't lose control of her quirk and do something she'd regret, or was the best way to tear Mustard limb from limb until there was nothing left. Well, she was calm now. They could always attack Mustard later. Fumikage shook his head. No, he couldn't afford to think like that. Not if he wanted to be a hero. Perhaps it is time for us to take our leave. Monoma nodded. That's a wonderful idea. Fumikage held out a hand for Eri. She took it gratefully, and Dark Shadow didn't unwrap himself around her until they were safely back inside the gates of UA. You're joking, right? Mandalay asked. You can't actually expect us to help you. Why not? Dobby sneered. It's not like you're doing anything better at the moment. Tiger lunged forward. Why, you little... Hawks flew between them. Come on, guys. We're all adults here, so let's act like it. He turned to the heroes. Think about it, guys. I know it might not be the best situation, but we share the same goals. If you help us, we can get our friends back. You pull your revenge, and we've got more than enough to pull with All for One to make sure he gives back Ragdoll's quirk. It's more of a mutual beneficial than anything else. What are you proposing would make us villains? Tiger growled. It wouldn't be right. Yeah, well, it's not right to abandon a friend either, is it? Dobby challenged. Or have a kid's death go unavenged. Or roll over and give in. But that's what you're doing, isn't it? You've given in and become Commission's little bitches. Mandalay gasped. How dare you! We'll think about it, Ragdoll cut in. Ragdoll! Pixie Bob exclaimed. You seriously can't be thinking. She gave them a look, and they all huddled closer to her. Look, to defeat Dobby and Hawks in our current state, we need more backup and support than what we brought, or that we would be able to explain if we called this in. Besides, there are some good points in not saying it's right or wrong, but we should save this particular battle for another day. Tiger nodded refusively and turned back to the villains. Very well, we'll consider your proposals. Don't count on anything, though. Hawks gave them all a predatory grin. Of course. Until next time, kitty cats. There was a rush of wind, and all of a sudden 4 of them were left alone on the roof. Mandalay took a deep breath and turned back to her team. So, what are we gonna do now? Ari was still awake when Shota got back from his patrol. He was absolutely exhausted, but when he peeked his head into her room, he saw her curled up and staring at the wall. He decided sleep could wait. He knocked on the door. Hey, sweetie, mind if I come in? Eri didn't respond, but scooted over onto the bed, making room for him. So he took that as permission to come and sit down next to her. He blinked in surprise when, rather than keeping him at an arm's distance, like she did sometimes, she buried herself into his arms as soon as he sat down. Slowly, he started stroking her hair as she nuzzled deeper into his capture weapon. What happened when he was gone? After a few minutes, Shota cleared his throat. Do you want to talk about it? He felt Eri shake her head, then stop. He waited patiently, careful not to push despite how worried he was. If she trusted him enough to open up, that was great. But if she didn't, then forcing her would do more harm than good. Eri eventually spoke up, her voice muffled by his scarf. Villains hurt Toko, didn't they? Shota's eyes widened. Yes, they did. Who told you that? Toko didn't like one of the people we met, Eri said. He was so sad and angry and said that they tried to make him hurt people. That's bad, right?
Shoto nodded and held her a little tighter. Yeah, sweetie, it is. Were you okay? Did they try to hurt you? Eri shook her head. No, but Toko and Dark Shadow and Monoma would have let them. Is that what you meant when you said that Mastermind Sama hurts people? Shota exhaled sharply, but forced himself to take advantage of the teaching moment Eri had given him. Yes, it is. Eri looked up at him and frowned. That's not nice. No, it's not, sweetie. Shota shook his head slowly. No, it isn't. People aren't all good or all bad. But Mastermind has made a lot of people feel just like you're telling me Tokoyami felt today. When they try to think of him, they get sad and scared. It's not a nice feeling. Oh, Eri thought for a moment. I don't want to make people feel like that. I want to help them feel better and happy like you and Dark Shadow do, Papa. Shota smiled softly and kissed her head. That's what being a hero is supposed to be. We haven't just quite gotten there yet. Okay, I'm sorry for this chapter. I had to record it in so many different places. Like at home. I know I said in the beginning of the next chapter, 4 days. It's been 6 days now. I know I don't have a set schedule and I am really working on that. Hopefully I can get the next chapter out. I'm so sorry, guys. Schedules are being worked on, so yeah. And if this last part, just like right when Toko Eri started talking about when he didn't like them, the scene changed. That background is because I'm recording this at school right now. So bye bye, guys. Hope you guys have a better good day.